twice, and I
texted them. And
East office hell today. We're gonna talk.
Did you talk to the board?
I yelled at them.
Good evening. It is time to start the Madison School Board meeting for tonight. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please, Mr. Stevens.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Here.
Mrs. Cotterman.
Here.
Mr. Mosier.
Here.
Miss Amy Walker.
Here.
Mr. Wigton.
Here. I need a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Are we making an amendment to, oh, that's during the
Sorry.
discussion.
Who was the first?
I'll second. Amy was the motion.
Okay.
Okay, discussion.
So under item M, matters related to personnel, let's see, item 1C, M1B, I would like to remove Doug Ricker as the assistant JV girls basketball coach for a separate vote.
We don't need a motion on that. Just change it. We don't need a vote on that.
Well, we are, so
Okay.
I need a second for that.
You don't need one, but I will.
Okay. My parliamentarian says I don't need a second on it, so we'll see. So,
Okay. So
any further discussion on that?
it was Miss Amy Walker? Or Miss, was she first?
Yeah,
And Mrs. Cotterman second?
yeah.
Is that a yes? Okay. Mrs. Melissa Walker?
For.
Mr. Mosier?
Against.
Mr. Wigton?
I'm sorry, who?
Mr. Wigton?
4. Okay, next is the approval of the previous board meeting minutes. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Mosier?
For.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
For.
Mrs. Cotterman?
Four.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mr. Wigton?
4. We next have teacher recognition.
So gives me great pleasure to recognize 11 of our teachers this evening who, with their state testing, demonstrated significant evidence that each teacher's students made more growth than expected on the Ohio State test during the 2022-23 school year. Essentially, what these teachers did was their students demonstrated more growth than what is expected on the state tests, and these 11 teachers were in the highest category represented. So I'd like to recognize them today. I would like to say that I know all of our teachers work very hard with their students for them to perform well on the tests, and these teachers excelled in that respect last year. So I'd like to recognize them. So if you would come down, Mr. McVicker has a certificate for you, and then if you'd come down and stay down here, we'll make a line, and Renee, if you would get a picture. So those being recognized, Melissa Vetter, 4th grade math. Kristen Agee, 6th grade English Language Arts. The next one notified me today that he couldn't be here tonight, but Kevin Andrus, 5th grade Science. Courtney Cockerty, 8th grade English and Language Arts. Goldie Spencer, 5th grade Science. Troy Stimpert, 5th grade Math. Megan Studer, 5th grade English and Language Arts. Zinda Thomas, 8th grade Science. And just to add to Zinda's certificate, she had the highest growth index in the entire district. Sarah Weiser, 8th grade Math. Jen Brandstetter, high school English and Language Arts. And the last one is one of our retired teachers. She retired after last year and could not be here tonight, but I want to recognize her anyways. Maggie Washington, high school government.
You guys all come together. There you go.
Is Tim going photobomb?
1, 2, 3.
I don't think you can see him over them anyway.
Trying to hide behind.
I know.
Congratulations, guys.
Don't worry about it.
Can we get one final round of applause and congratulate them on a job well done with their students?
We on the board applaud your success as well as the success of your students. So thank you for all your hard work.
Yes.
That's great. At this time, if you are a visitor and wish to address the board concerning an agenda item, now is the time to do that. Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to administrative committee reports. Legislative committee,
No report.
okay. Athletic board of control,
We're meeting next Tuesday, 11/21. He just completed all the information from the fall sports, and we meet then.
okay. Student representative,
So starting off with last month, we had our trunk or treat here at the middle school, where NHS and OCC leadership helped pass out candy and had some fun games for the kids to play. We also had our first annual Powder Puff football game that was put on by NHS. Our senior girls won and now have a trophy in Coach Johnson's room to represent that. Also, the girls soccer team did great in their tournament run. We are hoping to share some of that energy through the fall sports starting up. Our career techs are doing great work as well. Culinary and business both had 10 students pass their exams. Skills USA has 6 members in the running for officer positions, and BPA had 3 members selected for officer positions, one of them being president. Lastly, Mary Madison Christmas is starting up and they're in full swing. The high school is super excited to give back to the community and help some of these families out. Thank you.
thank you. Facilities report.
Good evening. Just a few things to report. Unfortunately, it's coming around to that time of year when the temperatures start to dip down, so we've been spending the last couple weeks going around all the schools, making sure all the boilers are ready to go and getting them all started up and making sure they're in good repair. In addition to that, we just did the final commissioning on the new boilers at Eastview Elementary School. Just to give you an idea, the other day they had the loop in the building was at 110 degrees, and the high efficiency boilers are both running at 1%. So we plan to see a big savings in fuel costs because of that replacement. We replaced 1980 boilers, so as well, that should be something that's good. We also, preparing for this winter, just contacted our rock salt supplier and just loaded 25,000 pounds of rock salt for the parking lots. Luckily, this was all left over from last year because of the mild winter last year, so we didn't have to put out any money for that, and hopefully that'll last us through the year. Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully we don't use a lot. Board Policy Committee?
No report.
Okay.
Student achievement.
So Eastview has their second grade music program tonight, Honoring America. On December 6th, they will have their first and third grade music programs. And on December 15th, they will be hosting their first ever Donuts with Grown-Ups. At Mifflin, students this past month hosted its Veterans Day program to honor and celebrate the contributions of our community servicemen and servicewomen. Students posted artwork from each grade level around the building and wrote various messages thanking them for their service too. Donuts with Dad saw nearly 400 people attend, where families were able to enjoy time together before the school day began. Students also had their annual Mifflin Not So Scary Harvest Parade, where parents were able to see their monsters, superheroes, princesses, and pirates walk the grounds. At Madison South, they hosted a Veterans Day program on Thursday, November 9th. Third grade students performed songs and they honored the many veterans in attendance. They also had one of their own, Gwen Boyer, speak about her experience as a veteran. As of right now, they've had 630 academic shout-outs. They announce these every Thursday during announcements. Students who have exceeded expectations get honored for their academic work. At the middle school, they had their first 9 weeks awards assembly, where they recognized 86 all-A students and 173 all-A and B students, as well as our fall athletes and 5th and 6th grade travel teams. Their winter I-Ready diagnostic is quickly approaching in December, and they're looking forward to seeing the amount of growth our students have made so far this school year. At the high school, they held their annual College Credit Plus Information Night on Tuesday, November 14th at 6 p.m. at the Madison Middle School Auditoria. Students intending on participating in College Credit Plus classes for the 24-25 school year were in attendance. Representatives from North Central State College, Ashland University, and Ohio State Mansfield were at the meeting to answer questions. The Madison Concert Choir, Choral, and Women's Chorus had their first concert of the school year. Great job by all. A special thank you goes out to Mr. Green for the time and energy that he puts into leading these wonderful vocalists. At the recent OCC Academic Challenge meet, the varsity put forth excellent effort to land a strong second place finish. Our junior varsity group took first place in the JV division. Congrats to all team members and Mr. Dillon on another great season. On Sunday, November 5th, National Honor Society organized the first annual Powder Puff football game. All grade levels were well represented, and it was the seniors and Coach Johnson that took home the championship. Special thanks to Mrs. Burden for making the day run so smoothly. All money raised from the event will go towards future NHS service projects. For the Career Tech, Lillian Truax and Gage Masters have been elected Skills USA Regional Officers for the Northwest region, and they will be running for state office positions later this year. And lastly, at the Career Center, they are pleased to report that there are currently 19 adult diploma students enrolled in our approved programs, which are dental assisting, customer and office, support technology, STNA, nail technician, and gas metal arc welding. Ohio's adult diploma program is free to Ohio residents at least 18 years of age who do not possess a high school diploma or GED. Students must pass 3 Work Keys assessments and select from the Career Center's list of approved programs. After passing the program requirements, required credential testing, and meeting 90% attendance, students are issued an Ohio Adult Diploma from the state of Ohio. The Career Center receives funding from Ohio based on all student completion and passage of credential testing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Superintendent's update.
Just a few things. We are now about halfway, a little over halfway through the second grading period. Hard to believe that Thanksgiving break will be next week. Our senior citizen luncheon is tomorrow, and I checked on the what we have registered, and we have 108 senior citizens registered for lunch tomorrow. So that would be the largest crowd we have had this school year. To give you an update on some levy numbers, I was at the board meeting for the Board of Elections this afternoon, and it was determined that we have, for our district, 16 additional absentee ballots and 88 provisional ballots, for a total of 104 ballots that could have votes in them that would go towards our current lead of 11 in the election. As we have found out, not every ballot, not every person votes on every issue or every candidate in every ballot. So the maximum number of votes there would be 104, and if every one of those person had a vote, we would need 42 yeses out of those 104 ballots for our issue to pass. I did find out, I asked the question, what happens in the case of a tie, and we would lose. The levy would not pass if it's a tie. You have to have 50% of the votes plus one. So that's where that number 42 comes from. You take 42 plus our 11 lead that we have, that's 53, and the maximum no votes would be 52. So, and it was also determined, they didn't determine this, I did, but by the numbers, in order to avoid a recount, if all of those ballots have a vote, the separation on Friday at 3 o'clock would have to be 37. There'd have to be a separation of 37 votes in order to avoid a recount. So that's kind of it by the numbers, so we just need to keep hoping and praying that it goes our way. That's it.
Cross your fingers. Anything else you can cross, I guess. Okay, at this time, we have moved some things around in our agenda. Our next board meeting will be December 19th here at the high school library due to a function here at the middle school at 6 p.m. And I need a motion to go into executive session at this time.
I'll move.
A second?
I'll second.
Mary? Okay, discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Mr. Mosher,
4.
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. When we return, we will continue with business.
Here's the law.
Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker,
4.
Mr. Mosher,
4.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Miss Amy Walker,
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. Next, Mr. Grove, you're up. If you haven't gone to sleep.
What happened to your audience?
They knew I was presenting, so they just left. So, all right. Well, thank you all for having me here, and we're going to talk a little bit. I'll update you on Career Tech, update you and do a really good in-depth dive of the report card, and then some new and improved things and some of our focus as we move on here in the future. Can you guys all see everything on here? Okay. So Career Tech, so we are held a couple different levels because we receive federal dollars through our Perkins grant. So there are federal indicators that we are held to and some outcomes, same as the state, which is a state report card, and then locally, which is, it's called a quality program review. That's really kind of a magnifying glass over each specific program. And there are 3, we'll get into that a little bit later, but there are 3 components of that we're held to as well. So we're going to take a look at each level, federal, state, and local here. So our federal indicators, as you see, as you look at it, I believe on your left-hand side is last year's numbers for all of those components and indicators, and the numbers on your right-hand side are our newest that were just released. So as you see here, nearly each of our indicators, most of them we have had an increase, a slight increase in. And you still see there the non-traditional program placement. That is, in essence, where they look at the number of students that are enrolled into programs that are non-traditional. So for example, the state sets forth the programs and they will say that cosmetology is generally a female-driven program, and if you have a male that is enrolled in that program, that is how that male would count as part of your federal indicator for a non-traditional student enrolled into a program. So yes, we did decrease in there, and obviously that was not our goal. We should be at 19% according to this. So we are continuing to try to find ways to recruit non-traditional students to programs. For example, during recruitment time, having some non-traditional students from the past that have gone through those programs. For example, a female auto mechanic come in, and during sophomore tours, having her speak to all the groups that come in that decide that want to see auto tech, and really try to grasp and capture as many non-traditional students as we can in those programs. Because we are not able to pick and choose who we want to be in each program, that is done through a lottery system. So there's no biases, there's no, subconscious decisions that I am making or Mrs. Von Stein makes when it comes to student placement. So that's why that lottery system is in place, is to protect students. So we don't have that ability to say, okay, well, we maybe have 3 females that really want into auto tech or 2 males that really want in cosmetology. Let's boost them, let's put them in there, so that would affect our numbers. We can't do that. So that's kind of a tricky one that we're going to continue to put a ton of our effort into trying to recruit that. But that is something that is a bit of a challenge, as you see there. But other than that,
Are we penalized because we don't have that number that we need? Is there some sort of penalty?
Yeah, so as you see there, that action plan, each indicator that we do not meet, that is not met, we have to create an action plan, submit that to the state, because we do receive Perkins dollars. There's a specific timeline and a plan that we have to meet, and it includes the instructors and myself, and we sit down and figure out how are we going to get to that level, that percentage. So things that we're continuing to work on. But overall, very pleased with our federal indicators and where we're at and the progress that we've made, and continuing to try to move forward with each of those. Next, at the state level, a lot of those federal indicators that you just saw do get filtered into our state report card. So a lot of those things, for example, our achievement, that is our technical skill attainment. That specifically looks at our web exam scores. So each of our programs have a specific set of assessments. End of course assessments is what they are for career tech, that are directly aligned to their program that the state of Ohio has created. So as you see here, we receive 5 stars. So we have 95.2% of our students earning proficient or greater within their programs when they take those web exams. So that is way more than the state expectation. As you see there, we received 5 stars within that area, which significantly exceeded the state standards. Performance index is, again, a tricky part, because not only does the performance index factor in our web exams that we have direct, I guess, not power over, but direct relationships within our labs and our programs. That performance index also takes into account the end of course exams for career tech students, for government, ELA, algebra, all of those other end of course exams too. So it's not just a career tech focused for that performance index. And based upon how many students you have performing at the proficient level, advanced level, limited level, basic level, that's where that score comes from. So one of our focuses moving forward, as you will see, how do we increase that performance index, even though we may not have a direct impact in the algebra classroom or the English classroom, how can we as career tech continue to help increase that score as well? Graduation rate, 5 stars, we significantly exceeded those expectations at 98% of students graduating. Again, that is our focus. That's what we do. We try to find every pathway we possibly can to get our students to graduate and walk across that stage. And that's reflected here as well. Career and post-secondary readiness, 5 stars. So there is a list, a very long list of things that go into this 116.6% score. Things such as our credentials, how many students are earning 12 points or more in a credential, how well are they doing with their web exam scores, are they in the military, are they in a career tech student organization, are they in a leadership role in a career tech student organization. ACT remediation scores are in here as well. So the points, we get specific points for each student or the number of students within that specific category and within that cohort of, I think there's 148. So they tally up the points, and throughout the points, there's the system where we get percentages. So with that 116 points, 116 percentage, we did fall into the 5 stars, which is significantly exceeding the state standards within our students in career and post-secondary readiness. So again, on the right track, not where we need to be yet. I think this is a time to still put our foot on the pedal and keep moving forward, not be satisfied, but continue to get better. And our post-program outcomes, the last piece here, we were 4 stars. This does take into account of our senior follow-up surveys, which we're mandated to do. We have to find out where our students are they attending a 2 or 4 year college? Are they working? Are they in the military? Are they volunteering? Are they in an apprenticeship? So those results, that is what you see right there with the post-program outcomes. And basically, we call students, we have to wait 6 months, and basically until after graduation, we figure out what they're doing, where they're at. We call parents, we call grandma, we look on Facebook, whatever it is that we can do to find these answers. And all of that data comes and is directly reflected on our report card right there at the very bottom.
How many do you not get?
So, good question. Out of the 148 graduated cohort last year, there were 11 students that we were unable to get any answer that nobody knew exactly what they were doing since they've graduated. Unknowns is not what we want, so we need to make sure we do everything we can to find an answer for those students after they've graduated. Again, it impacts us in our report card. So all of those things added together at the state level, our Career Tech Planning District, our CTPD, we received 5 stars, and we significantly exceeded state standards. And right there you see 88.9%. Federal indicators met. So all of those, the first federal indicators plus all of those things get added into that. So 5 stars, again, happy with that, but not satisfied. We have a lot of work to do in some specific areas. And the local level, when we start to get into some details of the programs under kind of a microscope, the quality program review looks at these 3 measures: technical skill attainment, which is our web exams for those programs. Work-based learning is how many students receive 250 work hours within their program, and then the post-program placement, which we just explained what they're doing 2 or 4 year college. So the numbers on the right there are the thresholds that the state says that each program, so we have 11 programs, those 3 components, each program must meet that standard right there in order to be in compliance. And so for last year, this year, we had 32. So if you take 11 programs with each 3 components, that's 33. We met 32 out of 33 components, compliance components. And the one that we did not meet was one. I'm not going to put the program out there, but it was in essence not hearing from one student what they were doing after high school. And we were at a 82.5%. We needed to be an 84%. So that one student, if we get an answer of what they're doing, we have 33 out of 33 in compliance for our quality program reviews for each of our programs. So again, on the right track, but we need to make sure we do everything we can to get those answers because we are affected by them. New and improved. So as we know, the Common Grounds is complete, ready to go. We've had a lot of success, a lot of great things with that. The Ramble Inn, in tandem, as you heard earlier from Mr. Peterson, the senior citizen luncheons are going extremely well. Myself and Chef Mo, we have discussed using this opportunity to open up the Ramble Inn for our community as well. So we're looking at, going to start off as 1 day a month, opening up for lunch for a specific set of hours that our community can come in and kind of have a set menu that they can order, so it's not a ton of different choices, but having a menu that they can order from, and doing the same thing with Common Grounds as well, trying to get it open to our community. And the better it goes, and as we fine tune that, we will do a couple more days a month.
And as you do that, I believe when we talked before, and I just want to clarify and see if I'm thinking right, the money that would be made from that would be put back into those programs or those
So
Common Grounds and Ramble.
Yep. So anything that's generated from Common Grounds or the Ramblin', that money is used directly for those students in that program. And it can only be spent on that program. So even though it may have generated several thousands of dollars, we are tied to that money going back to that program and those kids, which it should. They're doing the work. Yes, they are gaining some of their work-based learning hours in a school-based enterprise, but they're learning skills too. They're learning all that, but they're also working too. So that money, things that they need, maybe trips that they would like to take, things that they would like to be involved in, they are allowed to use that money to go straight back to them.
Cool.
Yep. Senior credential only program, learning and figuring out how to continue to encompass everybody in our student body in career tech education. So our senior credential only program is available for any student that would like to earn a 12-point credential. As you know, or may not know, there is a very heavy merit to a student if they have earned a 12-point credential or 12 points of credentials in a single pathway. That could potentially be an alternative pathway to graduation. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity if a student maybe doesn't test very well in Algebra 1 or in English 2, and they're not quite able to meet that proficient score, we have a way for them to not only earn a credential, but an alternative pathway as long as they complete their Ohio Means Job Readiness Seal as a supporting measure and or have 250 work hours. So that's why the 250 work hours is extremely important, and providing credentials not only to our career tech students, but students that are just not in a program as well. We did multiple enhancements to a ton of different programs, but in particular, our career assessment with Mrs. Vonstein, we have a program called Pathful that has really taken an in-depth look at that recruitment and also really laying out the opportunities for students. Depending on how they're testing and their career interest, it really lays out job opportunities for them. It tells them what their interests are, their skills are through this assessment, and then they can really start venturing and learning all the different jobs out there, what they may be interested in. And also the work-based learning tracking, the Job Ready. Again, we have to have some way to track our work-based learning hours because those hours get directly reported to the state and to the federal government. So we need to make sure we do a good job of tracking, which our students have done a wonderful job of. We kind of put this on them where they log into the system themselves, they upload their pay stub with their hours, and then that's how we track it to really keep a good eye on their work-based learning. ChooseMCT.org. When you get a chance, go ahead and check out ChooseMCT.org. It has all of our programs, the enhancement, every credential that students can earn, experiences. There are pictures in there. There are ways to sign up if somebody would like to join and come to Madison and be a part of a career tech program. That email goes directly to me. So a really cool website that I encourage you and everybody else to check out. And the last piece here that is a new thing, our coffee cart. So we partnered really with the mindset of more looking at being more inclusive. So how do we get everybody in our school, again, involved in career tech education? So our students with low incident disabilities, we have two of those categories in our building. So we figured out, okay, how can we get everybody involved with this? So the students, as you see there, they're wearing their red shirts. They had an opportunity to they voted and learned some graphing, and they picked the colors. They picked their design. They got a chance to be a part of that. And then every Friday, as you see here in my hand, there is a form that our staff can fill out. These students work with our culinary students. They help prepare the coffee, and then they deliver it. There's a cart that they take around to our staff members, and they deliver the coffee, and they work on some of their life skills, introducing themselves, eye contact, and they go through the order forms. And they place, hot coffee here, cold coffee here, and they really help organize to get them a part of what we're doing in the high school. And it's been awesome. Hats off to Mrs. O'Connell and Mr. Armstrong and Chef Mo for working together and having this collaboration. It's a really cool thing. And then to the very end of this, students, so their uniforms that they have, they also take time to, they learn how to wash. So students don't take their uniform home. They have a cleaning unit, or basically where they learn how to do laundry, they learn how to fold, they learn those things. So it's kind of all coming together and really a cool opportunity for all of our students to work together. So really excited about that at the high school. Our focus for this year, again, we cannot align our credentials enough to our programs for our students to earn at minimum 12 points. Our program placement, we're starting our recruitment process already. As we talked earlier, our non-traditional students in the program, that's going to continue to be a focus. One thing I'm going to have conversation with at the high school is a career tech honors diploma, and recognizing what that looks like. How can we really recognize and honor our students that are in career tech, meeting those thresholds? I think that's really, really important to bring to the forefront. And then our articulation, which is our C tags, our college credits, making sure those are aligned. There's an opportunity to apply for the equipment grant. The equipment grant is part of the original $300 million when they redid the budget. 200 of that was for the expansion grant, which we were unfortunately not awarded. There were, out of the 59 applicants, only 29 received the money. So unfortunately, we did not receive that, but we do have an opportunity to go after the equipment grant. It is going to be, it'll be a little bit of a challenge with some of the parameters that they've put on it, but we're going to go after it and see if we can continue to upgrade our equipment to expand our career tech education. And Sonia's not here, but really it was all her with the Super Rapids grant. Partnering with her in our manufacturing specifically, there's a lot of, I believe, $200,000 that she's going to be receiving, that we work together on how can we use that within our manufacturing programs. And then, as I spoke earlier, the larger impact on our performance index really being focused on what we do in the classroom and how that's impacting students across the board. Just some pictures here of some things that are really cool going on, just a lot of different students in different leadership roles, as you see there. Again, there's our, follow us on MCHS Rams and choosemct.org. Any questions? Sorry I took so long.
Thank you.
Not a big crowd.
Thank you.
No, that was great.
Yep.
Did she time you or something? Thanks, Jake. Okay, we have no donations. Treasurer's business. And we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Oh, you want me to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm okay with this.
I'm sorry.
He's just
I'm
pushing
just moving
us right
right along,
along.
buddy.
Well, before we talk about what's on the agenda, I want to talk about what's glaring that's not on the agenda. Typically, at this point in time of the year, we would have the financial five-year forecast, but as Mr. Peterson so eloquently pointed out, we will not know the outcome until Friday. So I have two very, very, very different forecasts, and had I presented one of them tonight and it not gone the right way, it could have created a lot of confusion. So therefore, we really are going to need a special board meeting on Tuesday, November 28th, so I can have you approve a financial forecast, five-year forecast that I can submit to the state. But because they won't have a vote if even there's they have to go to a recount because they won't have a vote until the 27th, they really won't be able to do anything to have you pass it, to present it. I do have the forecasts made. It's just something that it wouldn't be prudent to present.
We're doing the special board meeting on the 29th, right?
I have,
That's what I had, but Mr.
I
Pierce is correct.
originally, in my original text, it said the 29th, and then right below, I quickly corrected it to the 28th.
Okay, because I have the 29th. I didn't get the correction.
I won't be here. What time's the board, your special meeting?
4:15.
Yeah, I can't be back in town till 6 on that day.
What about you, Tim?
Would Wednesday work for you? Because
Yeah, I set it up for Wednesday because
Tuesday actually doesn't work for me because we have conferences in Mansfield.
So do we have,
So Wednesday would work
That's
if we
fine.
could keep that.
yeah.
I don't
Wednesday
think,
works.
I'll be there any day, so
so the 29th then?
I just,
Same time?
I was trying to juggle a lot of
Still
dates
okay?
from all of you, and I thought I had it right, but
Yeah, because I set it aside for the 29th.
Okay,
I didn't
so
get the rest of
the
it.
29th, we're doing this, okay.
Okay, thank you
Back to your
very,
report.
thank you very much. So about the report, revenues, obviously over the October last month, they're up, but the half of it's due to timing. We did get the homestead and rollback this time. We got it in October. Last year we got it in September. So that was why the revenues were increased on that line. And the reason the revenues increased in the grants, basically our foundation, is because when the House bill passed for the new state funding, they didn't do a count in July for August, nothing for August, it's in September for August. The first time a lot of schools are in session is in September, so that means August is when the first count actually hits, or October, not August, October, because September's the first full month. So since October is when the first full count hits, that's when the state really gives you the reimbursement for what they owed. So even though the formula started July 1st, it really didn't kick in until October. So that's why there's that big jump in revenues. As far as expenditures, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is, I'd really like to have the expenditures at, a lot less than what they were, but the good news is we're up less than 0.5% over last year this time. So considering inflation is much higher than 0.5%, only having a 0.5% growth means we are doing a lot to make as many cuts as we can. The biggest jump so far fiscal year to date in expenditures is purchase services, and that's just because we can't control the fact that we still need utilities and we still need security services. We still need things that other companies have to provide to us, therapies, but we can't control those prices.
Right.
So, and the three, on page 5, those three graphs, I sent this to you prior to saying we need another 5-year forecast. I shouldn't present it. So I kind of try to please ignore those. Those will be accurate if the levy goes our way and, the passing holds. But if it doesn't, those won't be. There's one other thing that's not on, well, it's on the agenda, but not in my section. In section N, superintendent's business, there is a recommendation to participate in an RFP, request for proposal, for gas bids for Meta Solutions. Basically what that means is I'm asking the board to allow us to join with Meta Solutions for them to go out and use what we would have for cubic feet or cubic, whatever it is, for gas, and use that in their proposal so they can get a good price, because the more districts you have and the more gas you're buying, the cheaper they can get it. So we're going to be much better off to go in a consortium, and we've been with Meta Solutions Consortium for gas for years. So, and that's who we went with electricity, because they gave us a better rate than Ohio School Plan. So are there any questions on anything I presented?
No.
May I do the roll call?
Okay, roll call.
Okay. Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4.
Mr. Mosier?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mr. Wickton?
4. Okay, next is our strategic plan for student learning and support.
I gave all of you a handout with our 2 goals and strategies for this year, and also some attachments. So Mr. McVicker is just going to review the first strategy with you for the student learning and support team.
And I'll be very brief. The strategy that we have is obviously increase the performance index by 3 points, or at the very least maintain. We decided this year that we wanted to narrow our goals down, focus, and make sure that we were attacking those areas in the best way that we could. We've had a lot of conversation about the data that we've been able to accumulate the last few years. Now we're taking a look as a district, I guess from the 40,000-foot perspective, of what that data means, what that information means. And we're taking a look at how we instruct in the classroom, what curriculum we're providing, what supports we're providing for the students, and also the staff. And then we're asking the buildings to take a look at what they're doing within their buildings and how we can use that then to benefit for the entire district. One of the things that I presented at the last administrative meeting, considering the data with the performance index, where a student scores on those tests, there's a weighted factor that gets us to those final counts. Depending on what level they score, it can be a 0.3, a 0.6. If they score at a proficient level, it's 1. If they score above that, it's a 1.3 and a 1.6. So those are the factors that students score, and that's how they get our final calculation. Found out that if we took a grade level, a test, if we had students that made one more answer or chose an answer correct, they could start bumping up our scores. Obviously, if they go from a 0.6, which is a basic level, they score one more point, or they go from a 698 to a 700, which is considered proficient, they go from a 0.6 factor to a 1. And if we have enough of that movement across the district, you can start to see the impact. As all told, with the students and the number of tests that they take, we have over 3,400 testing opportunities. So when we start moving a group of students from one level to the next, you can see how that compounds over time. So that's what we're taking a look at. How can we improve that performance index, which overall is going to give us a better score? Within that then are the subgroups, are the different components that how we provide those supports, and that's where Renee gets to speak about. So thank you.
The second page of the goal sheet talks about the second strategy, which is implementing programs and supports, both in intervention and in enrichment. So we are still working through our tiered supports for all of our students. All buildings are doing that. They're also identifying enrichment areas, not only for our lower students, offering supports there, but we also want to start and be challenging those higher students. So finding those enrichment opportunities and servicing those students. And Mr. Stump has really done a nice job of identifying those and working to get more teachers certified in their gifted hours, so we're serving more students across the board that way. And then lastly, we are really we're trying to stay ahead of House Bill 33 as much as we can with identifying students with dyslexia, or calling them at-risk students, offering supports for all of them. We have a lot of students on reading improvement and monitoring plans. This year we had to identify fourth graders with that, and that will continue with them until they hit the 700 mark. So just putting in supports across all buildings for all of our students. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, matters related to personnel, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Mosher.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. Okay, next we would have item M, B, where we took out Doug Rickard as assistant varsity JV girls basketball coach. I need a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Who was that, Mary?
That would
Miss
Amy.
Amy Walker.
Amy seconded that?
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Mosher.
4.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Against.
Mrs. Cotterman.
After lots of discussion and some special considerations that Mr. Peterson is willing to implement, I'm going to vote for.
Mr. Wigton.
I will vote for the same reasons that Mrs. Cotterman indicated. I think we need to do this for what's best for the program there.
Okay.
Okay, that takes us to superintendent's business. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
Just quickly, just call your attention to a couple items, starting with number 4, where I'm recommending approving April 8th as a calamity day due to the solar eclipse. Been to several meetings, and the anticipation of the number of people that will be flooding the area, because we are in one of the areas where you can see the eclipse in its totality. Due to that, we're going to have a calamity day. My major concern is transportation on that day, and buses being stuck in traffic and gridlock, and obviously parents would be concerned about their kids taking so long to get home. So like many other districts in the area, if not all of them, we will be closed that day. And then number 6, which is the other large resolution, that is just codifying House Bill 33 with respect to all the structural changes to the Ohio Department of Education, State Board of Education, the state superintendent, and all that language that is in our policies and guidelines and forms. Neola is working on updating those, and I would imagine all of that would be addressed in our big update in the spring. But essentially, we are going to follow all those changes of House Bill 33, even though all of our policies, guidelines, and forms haven't formally codified that yet. So that's what that one is. And that's all.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Mosher.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4. Visitors' comments? I see no one running up. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Mosher.
4.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4.